Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty.
But this time, it's the war on truth and science. And the media and the media's role in the dissemination of misinformation and disinformation and sometimes outright falsehoods. If we look over the last few years, we have seen several hoaxes in the news, starting off with the Jussie Smollett case. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but Jussie Smollett was a guy who claimed that there was a hate crime, a racist and homophobic hate crime against him in Chicago. Well, he was just prosecuted for that little staging. He's now in jail. We also had the Russia-Trump hoax. Where's the evidence? We have no evidence of that to date. We now have the Green New Deal hoax, where they're trying to tell us that we are about to become extinct in 12 years unless we spend all this massive amount of money to take us to this socialist utopia.
On a fast train.
On a fast train, exactly. That's the train that we are trying to construct from Los Angeles. Yes, Jason, you're absolutely right. We also have the hoax of the Biden and the left trying to tell us his policies are not causing the energy crisis. And that is going on in the media right now. We are hearing now about the Putin price spike. We also have the January 6th hoax, where they tell us, well, it was an insurrection. It was a coup. And all of those protests and riots we had, those were mostly peaceful protests, if you remember that one. We have now the most interesting hoax of all. It's the COVID hoax. Now, that is not to say we did not have COVID. Yes, there was a COVID pandemic. Of course, I was infected by the COVID. Tim was infected by the COVID. So far, I think Jason has escaped it. And I wonder why he has escaped it. But
I'm not sure I did. It's testing is so
You're not sure you did. Okay. Okay. But the point of all of these things is that the media is out there pushing these stories. They're always pushing these stories. And they're now even pushing stories that challenge science. And science must withstand scrutiny if it has become knowledge. So what do you guys think about this thing? What is going on in our world where these hoaxes are becoming so much a part of our daily life? We have two of them ongoing right now. So what do you guys think about all of this? Jason?
Well, one of the biggest hoaxes, I think, that's not even on this list is, my God, you look at what's happening right now in women's sports. And I mean, the fact that everybody just cowardly sits there and watches essentially a dude come out and beat the hell out of a bunch of women for whatever the match is, and everybody says how brave, and I can't imagine a more dishonest narrative. I mean, you talk about these women with the swim team that are happening there, and that's at Penn State or something, or University of Pennsylvania, and the I think her name is Leah Thompson or something like that, but
Leah Thomas, yes,
Leah Thomas, okay, yes. and the whole team is terrified that nobody can stand out alone to speak against her, coming in there and essentially stealing all their opportunities. So they have to come out as a group so that they can keep some anonymity for themselves, speaking as a group anonymously to say this is not right. I can't imagine anything more, more of a war on science than that. And I mean, I as a libertarian, I have no problem if a voluntary group of people want to get together and set up a structure where that's allowed. But right now, it's sort of being shoehorned on everybody through government schools, and I think that's just terrible. So. But anyway, go ahead, Screaming Eagle. Tell us what you think.
Well, I think I did. We had this as a topic, but
no, not the hoax. Not the hoax. We had a topic. We did talk about Leah Thomas. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. Okay. I guess we've got a lot of hoaxes going on, and Yeah, I mean, we could take each one apart. I don't know. I'm kind of confused, Leon. Are we
You could
talking about?
take one if you want. Jason just raised a hoax that I didn't even consider. I forgot about, which was the Leah Thomas case about transgenderism. Actually, is here. If you want anything on the list, if you want to talk about it, it's fine.
Well, here's something. I just heard this from Tom Wood's show. I can't remember if it's him or someone else talking, but part of this whole thing with this Russia-Trump thing is that Trump, instead of just taking the fifth, which would have been better, but he can't keep his mouth shut to save his life. But instead of not saying anything or to rebut these ridiculous claims of his collusion with Putin, instead of that, what he did was he tried to go too far the other way to prove that he hated Putin and he wasn't a shill. And so he did a number of things. And when I heard them all listed, I guess it was Scott Horton talking. And so when Scott was going through this long laundry list of the things Trump did to make matters worse with Russia, in addition to all this NATO expansion, but all these other things that he did, including having troop movements right up within yards of the border with Russia under Trump's watch. These were things he did in response to all this nonsense that the State Department, it's so convoluted, but they were trying to hem him in or rein him in. And that's exactly what they were doing. And they didn't care. All they wanted was the investigation. They didn't want a conviction or anything else. They just wanted him. And it worked. He was putty in their hands, and he hired all these warmongers and did warmongering stuff against Russia to try to prove, I'm really not in Putin's pocket. I'm really a good guy. I'm Donald Trump, and I'm going to fight Putin, And so it's just in addition to all the other things, it got us to this moment in time where we are facing all these things going on to upset the state of Europe between Russia and Ukraine. And so, when it's not just that, these things aren't true. It's they're not true, and they have serious repercussions, potentially.
But Tim, don't you think the danger is the disinformation and the outright falsehoods that the media articulate and try to make it sound so real? Isn't that the danger? Is that the danger to us?
Yes, it is. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying in addition to those very real concerns and dangers you speak of being lied to by the people that are supposed to be bringing you something close to the truth, but out and out lies on purpose. Aside from that, the lies can, depending on the situation, have potentially lethal and dangerous repercussions on down the road of history.
Yes.
Because they put a person like Donald Trump with, really zero principles, in my opinion, other than what's good for me. If it's good for me, okay. Can I say you're fired? Do I get a chance to say you're fired? I'd love to say you're fired. I'm Donald Trump, and guess what? You're fired. If you do that to those kind of people, you have, and you're setting it up on a world stage, because you're saying he's in the pocket of a world leader that we don't like.
Can we as a country remain free if the truth is constantly being poisoned by politics?
Well, that's the danger, right? And I think it's a product of our echo chambers at the moment. We are able to get in with people who agree with us, and it makes it really hard to get outside of those echo chambers and go back and forth. And quite frankly, I think one side at the moment is much more guilty of this than the other side. I don't see a lot of riots against speakers from the left on college campuses. I see a lot. I see the riots from the left against speakers, that they don't agree with. And, it's like the nonsense we just saw on The View, and, where these women all thought that Tulsi and Tucker, as we talked about in our last show, should be thrown in jail because they don't agree with them on their patriotic ideas of sending us all to war in the Ukraine. Yeah. So obviously it's an assault on our liberty and our freedoms going forward.
Indeed.